Yesterday, we have seen clinical spectrum of various STDs, that is sexually transmitted diseases. So today we will start with control of STDs. So the aim of control program for STDs is the prevention of ill health resulting from the above STDs, which we have discussed in previous two lectures through various interventions. These interventions may be a primary prevention focus, that is the prevention of infection. Secondary prevention focus, that is minimizing the adverse health effects of infection. And third is usually combination of both primary and secondary prevention. So primary prevention deals with prevention of infection, and secondary prevention means if patient is already infected, then to minimize the adverse health effects of infection, or we can use both the combination. So control of STD may be considered under following headings. First is initial planning, second is intervention strategies, third is support components, and fourth is monitoring and evaluation. Control of STD is discussed under these heads, that is initial planning, intervention strategies, support components, monitoring and evaluation. So first we will see about initial planning. So control programs have to be designated to meet the unique need of each country and to be the line with that country's healthcare system, its resource and priorities. So every country has their planning differently, which will satisfy their healthcare system, resources and priorities of that country. So in planning, there are some steps, that is problem definition, establishing priorities, setting objectives and considering strategies. That is problem definition means what is the actual prevalence of that disease in that area and how much it needed to have a control program. Then second is establishing priorities. That is, if there is a disease condition, then how much the priority is given to each patient. That is, according to their age or occupation, sex or severity of disease, etc. Then setting objectives. Objective is what actually should be done in control program, and considering strategies, that is what resources are available in that country. According to that, we should use that strategies. So we'll go in detail. So first is problem definition. The disease problem must be defined in terms of prevalence, that is how much disease is there prevalent in that area. Then psychosocial consequences and other health effects of that disease. Also by geographic areas and population groups, and also with the aid of sero-epidemiological surveys and population surveys. So how disease problem is defined? According to its prevalence, according to psychosocial consequences and other health effects, and by the use of their geographic areas, population groups, and with the help of sero-epidemiological surveys or population surveys. Sero-epidemiological survey means we can do the random serum test of some selected population, and in that the patients who are seropositive, we will take that patient for treatment and our other plannings of control program. So this is the important first step, since such information is usually inadequate or non-existent in most cases. So we should first plan what is problem, and according to that we should progress. So it is first step. Second is establishing priorities. Rational planning requires establishment of priorities. So we have to be clear that what is priority of our control program. This will depend upon health problem consideration, for example, magnitude of that disease, consequences of that disease, or feasibility of control. For example, availability of adequate resources, social and political commitment. Priority group may be categorized on the basis of age, sex, place of residence, occupation, and drug addiction, etc. So it should be clear in our priorities. Then third one is setting objective. After priority, that priority must be converted into discrete, achievable, and measurable objective. That is, the main objective is to reduce the magnitude of the problem in the given population and in the given time. That is to reduce the prevalence of disease. To be the most useful, objective should be unambiguous and quantifiable. What is meaning of unambiguous? That is clear. That is the one single objective has one clear idea. That is unambiguous. It should not be confusing. Then broad coverage of population is crucial for effective STD control. So we should cover the broad population. Then considering strategies. A variety of intervention strategies are available. So planner must define the which strategy he will going to use. The next step is intervention strategies. First we have seen case definition, case defining, and then intervention strategies. In intervention strategies, first is case detection. How it will be detected? That is by screening, contact tracing, or cluster testing. Second step is case holding and treatment. Third is epidemiological treatment. Fourth one is personal prophylaxis. And fifth one is health education. So intervention strategy includes first is case detection, second is case holding and treatment, third is epidemiological treatment, fourth is personal prophylaxis, and fifth one is health education. So in case detection, it is the first and essential part of control program. The usual methods for early detection of cases are screening, contact tracing, and cluster testing. What is meaning of screening? Screening is the testing of apparently healthy volunteers from the general population for early detection of diseases. In that also, high priority is given to screening of special groups. For example, pregnant women, blood donors, industrial workers, army, police, refugees, prostitutes, restaurants and hotel staff. Why? Because they are at high risk for infection of STDs. Then the availability of appropriate test is a critical for screening purpose. So while screening, we should have a appropriate test which we can use as a diagnostic test, or at least we can have some idea that patient may be suffered from this disease. So it should be appropriate. The test sensitivity, specificity and predictive value are important consideration. Then contact tracing. After screening, we should go for contact tracing. Contact tracing is the term used for technique by which the sexual partners of diagnosed patients are identified, located, investigated and treated. So after screening, if we found a patient, so we should diagnose the patient's sexual partner or the contact persons which patient should be in contact are identified, located and then investigated for the disease transmission, and treated accordingly. So this is the one of the best method of controlling spread of infection. Patients are interviewed for their sexual contacts by specially trained staff. The key to success in contact tracing is the patient himself, who must disclose all sex contacts voluntarily. The contacts are then proceeded to attend STD clinics for examination and treatment. Third is cluster testing. Here, the patients are asked to name other persons of either sex who move in the same socio-sexual environment. These persons are then screened, for example, by blood testing, and this technique has been shown almost to double the number of case found. Cluster means what? Group. That is, if we found one patient which is seropositive, then we should ask that like them, any other person is working in that same socio-sexual environment. So we should take that cluster, that is group of people, and that group of people are screened for that disease. So this technique has shown the almost double the number of cases are found in these techniques. So case detection साठी आपण screening, contact tracing, any cluster testing we are using. Then second method is case holding and treatment. After case detection, we should continue that case and give a complete treatment. So adequate treatment of patient and their contacts is mainstay of STD control. There is a usual tendency on the part of patients suffering from STDs to disappear or drop out before treatment is complete. So we should encourage them to continue the treatment. Therefore, every effort should be made to ensure complete and adequate treatment. Then third one is epidemiological treatment. What is known as epidemiological treatment, or more appropriately contact treatment, has become a keystone of control campaign. It consists of administration of full therapeutic dose of treatment to person recently exposed to STD while awaiting the results of laboratory test. Epidemiological treatment means the person, the patient, and their contacts are treated with full therapeutic dose of treatment for prevention of STD infection before we get the laboratory tests. The next one is personal prophylaxis. For personal prophylaxis, first is use of contraceptives, that is mechanical barriers, for example condoms and diaphragms, can be recommended for personal prophylaxis against STD. These barrier methods, especially when used with spermicides, will minimize the risk of acquiring STD infections. However, their use is limited by lack of motivation, acceptability, and convenience of patient. The exposed part should be washed with soap and water as soon as after contact is possible. Then second personal prophylaxis is vaccine, as it is not developed till, but the development of vaccine for hepatitis B has raised hopes that vaccine will be found for other STDs also. Then health education. Health education is an integral part of STD control program. The principal aim of educational intervention is to help individuals to alter their behavior in an effort to avoid STDs. That is, to minimize disease acquisition and transmission. The target groups may include general public, patients, priority groups, and community leaders, etc. Next control program component is support components. The support components include STD clinics, laboratory services, primary health centers or primary health care. Fourth is information system, legislation, and social welfare measures. So these are supportive components in the control program. That is STD clinic, laboratory services, primary health care, information system, legislation, and social welfare measures. So in STD clinics, the starting point for the control of STDs is the establishment of STD clinics, where all consultation, investigations, and treatment, contact tracing, and all other relevant services are available. STD clinics are where all consultation, investigation and treatment, contact tracing, and all other relevant services are available. An ideal service is one that is free, easily accessible to patients, and available for long hours each day. So there should be suitable arrangements for treating female patients separately. Since the patients desire anonymity, the STD clinic should try to maintain it. Anonymity means the patient desires that their name should not be disclosed. So the STD clinics should try to maintain it. Because of the stigma attached to the STD clinics, many patient seeks alternative sources of medical care, that is, including self-medications. It is now considered that key to success of STD control program is the integration of its essential elements into the primary healthcare services. So, its main successes depend on integration of elements into the primary healthcare services. That is all facilities should be available at the primary health center. So it is easy for patients to approach it. However, it is essential to have in each administrative unit one specialized center, which should provide the necessary clinical and laboratory expertise and coordinate all control activities at all levels of healthcare system. So in STD clinics also there should be one specialized center which will provide necessary clinical and laboratory expertise, and it will coordinate control of all activities at all healthcare systems. The center should be housed adjacent to other medical facilities and training centers. The next supportive component is laboratory services. Adequate laboratory facilities and trained staff are essential for proper patient management. It provides a basis for correct etiological diagnosis, treatment decision, for contact tracing, surveillance of morbidity, and detection of antimicrobial resistance. So why laboratory services are essential? Because they provide correct etiological diagnosis, treatment decision. Also they are useful for contact tracings, for surveillance of morbidity, and for detection of antimicrobial resistance. So the diagnostic tests that should be available for important sexually transmitted pathogens are given in WHO report, and that should be followed. Next one is primary health care. The current trend is to integrate STD control activities into the primary healthcare system. This will imply inclusion of primary healthcare workers in the STD health team. That is, inclusion of village health guides and multi-purpose workers like ASHA workers in the STD health system. Then if we involve that persons, then only it is possible to provide effective treatment to the greatest number of cases in community. Such management limits further disease transmission. The next one is information system. The basis of an effective control program of any communicable disease is an existence of information system. Information system means which we, if any disease occurs, we notify that disease to government. नोटिफिकेशन आपण तो डिसीज आयडेंटिफाय केल्यानंतर डायग्नोज केल्यानंतर असा असा डिसीज आमच्या एरियामध्ये झाला आहे असं आपण गव्हर्नमेंटला इन्फॉर्म करतो. इट इज नोटिफिकेशन. नोटिफिकेशन देतो आपण त्यांना. सो इट इज prerequisite for effective program planning, coordination, monitoring and evaluation. So 3 types of data requirement are relevant in the control of STDs. These are clinical notification, laboratory notification and sentinel and ad hoc surveillance. Sentinel and ad hoc surveillance are the types of surveillance for disease detection. So national notification system at best includes only the classical venereal diseases where existing reporting systems suffer from under notification, inaccurate diagnosis and concealment of cases owing to social stigma. So our notification system is affected due to under notification, inaccurate diagnosis and concealment of cases due to social stigma. Without a notification system, it is not possible to assess the magnitude of problem, to allocate resources, and to evaluate the impact of control measure. That is, if we do not know that disease is prevalent in that area or any doctor not notified us, then we will not able to assess magnitude of that problem or that disease in that area, or to allocate the resource to prevent further disease transmission, or to evaluate impact of control measure. So notification system is very important. So there is an urgent need to develop an effective and detailed reporting system of STDs in countries where it does not exist. For that, we can use sentinel surveillance systems or ad hoc surveys can be used to supplement the routine reporting system. Also, we can do population-based sample surveys, which are also used to identify true distribution of cases in particular settings. The information system should be built around a small number of questions. That is, how many cases were interviewed, how many villages were visited, and how many cultures were examined. So, clinical notification as well as laboratory notifications. So the system should provide information on activities, resource utilization and task accomplishment of program personally. The next supporting component is legislation. Many countries are still far away in enacting suitable legislation for control of STDs. Although legislation and regulations cannot wipe off STD, they are nonetheless needed, particularly to establish responsibilities and to define standards. So legislation is required to establish responsibilities and to define standards. So the purpose of legislation should be to encourage patients to seek early treatment, name their sexual contacts, to screen high-risk groups, to improve notification by general practitioners, and health education of the public. So what is the purpose of legislation? The purpose should be to encourage patients to seek early treatment for their disease and to name the sexual contacts. Also, to screen high-risk groups, to improve notification by general practitioners, and for health education of public. The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1986 covers all persons where male or female who are exploited sexually for commercial purposes. This traffic is not of road traffic, it is about human trafficking. So, Human Trafficking Law, the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1986. It covers all persons, whether male or female, who are exploited sexually for commercial purpose. It also makes punishment for the offences under the act more stringent than the any previous acts. Next supportive component is social welfare measures. STDs are social problems with medical aspects. So it implies there should be social therapy which would prevent or control the conditions leading to promiscuity and STDs. The various social measures include rehabilitation of prostitutes, provision of recreation facilities in the community, provision of decent living conditions, marriage counseling, prohibiting the sale of sexually stimulating literatures like pornographic books and photographs. So, what social measures includes? Social measures includes rehabilitation of prostitutes, provision of recreation facilities in the community, provision of decent living conditions, marriage counselings, and prohibiting the sale of sexually stimulating literatures like pornographic books and photographs, etc. The next step of control program is monitoring and evaluation. A critical aspect of effective management is the monitoring of disease trends and evaluating program activities. So, anytime when we apply the control program, there should be proper monitoring of program and at the last evaluation of the program. Evaluation will show if the activities have been performed in satisfactory way. So ongoing evaluation of disease trends provides a more direct measure of program effectiveness and may be used to determine appropriateness of selected intervention strategies for particular setting. So what ongoing evaluation provides? It provides direct measure of program effectiveness and it may use to determine appropriateness of selected intervention strategies. So it provides how program is effective for the disease population and also it shows appropriateness of selected intervention, means what treatment we are using or what preventive strategies we are using that are appropriate or not appropriate. We'll get it from evaluation of that program. So here we completed STDs. We'll revise in short. So STDs are sexually transmitted diseases which are mainly transmitted by sexual contact and caused by wide range of bacteria, virus, protozoa and fungal agents and also by ectoparasites. So classification of STD agents according to bacterial agents, viral agents, protozoal agents, fungal agents and ectoparasites. So classification is based on bacteria, virus, protozoa, fungal and ectoparasites. Its extent of the problem means how disease is prevalent and its incidence we have already seen. Epidemiological determinants which include agent factors. So we have seen the number of list, that is pathogen and their disease. For example, Neisseria gonorrhea causes gonorrhea, urethritis, cervicitis, epididymis, salpingitis, EID, neonatal conjunctivitis, and like that other organisms and their diseases. Host factors which include age. So main age group for STD is 20 to 24 years, and mainly its incidence is more in males, but its morbidity is severe in women. Marital status. The frequency of STD infection is higher among singles, divorced, and separated persons. Also, socioeconomic status. The lowest socioeconomic groups are at high risk. Demographic factor. This includes population explosions, increase in number of young peoples, rural to urban migration, and women which delay their marriage and increase the STD risk. Then some social factors are there. First is prostitution, broken homes, sexual disharmony, easy money, and emotional immaturity, urbanization and industrialization, social disruption, international travelers, changing behavioral patterns, social stigma, and alcoholism, as it is mainly social disease with medical terms. So, more number of social factors are there, like prostitution, broken homes, sexual disharmony, easy money, emotional immaturity, urbanization and industrialization, social disruption, international travelers, changing behavioral patterns, social stigma, and alcoholism. So all these are social factors which increases the risk of STDs. Then we have seen clinical spectrum of various diseases. For example, gonococcal infection, gonorrhea. Next is syphilis. Then chlamydia trachomatis, trichomoniasis, lymphogranuloma venereum, chancroid, donovanosis, genital herpes, human papilloma viruses. So we have seen the clinical spectrum of various STDs. Then in control of STDs, we have mainly it considered mainly under following four heads. That is initial planning, intervention strategies, support components, monitoring and evaluation. In initial planning, there is a problem definition, establishment of priorities, setting objectives and considering strategies. In problem definition, we have seen the prevalence and psychosocial consequences of disease, establishment of priorities. So priority should be considered first. Then objective is to reduce the magnitude of problem. And strategies which are available are used. Intervention strategies include case detection, case holding and treatment, epidemiological treatment, personal prophylaxis, and health education. In case detection, there are three methods are used: screening, contact tracing, and cluster testing. Then case holding and treatment, epidemiological treatment, personal prophylaxis which include contraceptives and vaccines. Then last one is health education. Then we have seen support components which include STD clinics, laboratory services, primary health care, information system, legislation, social welfare measures, and last is monitoring and evaluation. So here we completed STDs. Today's disease is yaws. 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 So what is yaws? Yaws is a chronic contagious, non-venereal. It is chronic, contagious, non-venereal. Non-venereal means not sexually transmitted. It is contagious but non-venereal. It is caused due to Treponema pertenue. It is usually beginning in early childhood. It resembles syphilis in its clinical course, and it is characterized by primary skin lesions followed by generalized eruption and with late stage of destructive lesion on skin and bone. Why it resembles to syphilis? Because causative organism for syphilis is Treponema pallidum, which is of same family Treponema. Treponema pallidum, it is a causative organism for syphilis, and Treponema pertenue, it is causative organism for yaws. So their clinical symptoms are similar. Yaws is also known as pian, bubas, or frambosia. So what is yaws? Yaws is a chronic, contagious. Contagious means communicable, spreading. Chronic, contagious, non-venereal, caused due to Treponema pertenue. Usually starts in early childhood. So in the world, not long ago, it was a significant public health problem in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central America. In Africa, there has been a great resurgence of yaws. So mainly seen in Africa. In India, the disease was reported in India from the tribal communities. आदिवासी भागात जास्त दिसतो. Tribal communities which are living in hilly forests and which are difficult to reach. Almost in 49 districts of 10 states it is found. Mainly Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, and Uttar Pradesh. So mainly it is reported in tribal communities of hilly forests. The yaws eradication program was started in 1996 and 97 in Koraput, Orissa, and then it is extended to endemic states as centrally sponsored health scheme. So yaws eradication program started in 1996 and 97. So in 1996, the reported cases was 3,500, and in 2004, the number of cases is 0. Since 2004, no new case has been reported. But for the certification for disease-free status requires absence of disease for at least 5 years. Even though after 2004 there is a no case, but India has declared that yaws is completely eradicated on 19th September 2011. So in India, there is a no case of yaws. So what are its epidemiological determinants? First is agent factor. In agent factor, agent is yaws is caused by Treponema pertenue. If you remember the image which shows Treponema pertenue, which looks like Treponema pallidum, which is also spiral-like. It measures 20 micron in length with 8 to 12 rigid spirals. The agent occurs in the epidermis of the lesions, lymph glands, spleen, and bone marrow. The organism rapidly dies outside the tissue. So, it is caused due to Treponema pertenue. You can see it in image. Its measurement, it is 20 micron in length with 8 to 12 rigid spirals. The agent occurs, that is bacteria occurs in epidermis of lesions, lymph glands, spleen and bone marrow. The organism rapidly dies outside the tissue. Then what are the reservoir of infection? So only man is the known reservoir of yaws. Still, the cases are not seen in animals. Only man is the reservoir of yaws. Its clinical lesions may relapse 2 to 3 times or more during the first 5 years of infection, and that lesions serves as a source for new infection. Most latent cases are found in clusters centered around in infectious cases. Cluster means in group. इन्फेक्शियस केसच्या आजूबाजूचे जे क्लस्टर्स असतात, म्हणजे आजूबाजूचे जे कॉन्टॅक्ट ग्रुप्स असतात, त्यांच्यामध्ये लॅटेंट केसेस बऱ्याच वेळा दिसून येतात. लॅटेंट केसेस म्हणजे ज्यांच्यामध्ये सिम्पटम्स आलेले नाहीयेत, लॅटेंट फेज मध्ये असतात, ते सब क्लिनिकल फेजेस म्हणू शकतो आपण. देर आर frequent relapses in latent cases within the first 3 to 5 years of infection, but that latent cases can show the lesions in 3 to 5 years. The source of infection is usually the skin lesions and exudates from early lesions. Then communicability, it is variable and it may extend over several years intermittently as moist lesions break out. So treponema are usually not found in late lesions. These are only found in early lesions. Then what is host factor? In host factor, age, the yaws is primarily a disease of childhood and adolescence. The yaws is mainly disease of childhood and adolescence. Over 75% of cases occur before the age of 15 years, but disease can occur at any age. So yaws is a primarily a disease of childhood and adolescence. Over 75% cases are before the age of 15 years, but the disease can occur at any age. Sex incidence, generally the prevalence is among males is greater than among females. It is by the research. The reason is not known. Immunity, man has no natural immunity for the yaws, but acquired resistance can develop slowly and may take a months or years to develop fully unless it is suppressed by treatment. Means if patient has not taken any treatment, there can be a acquired resistance, but it takes years to develop. There is a considerable experimental and epidemiological evidence that yaws provides partial immunity to venereal syphilis. Why? Because family of the bacteria is same. So it provides partial immunity for venereal syphilis, but it is only experimental and epidemiological evidence. Then what are environmental factors? So first one is a climate. Yaws is endemic in warm and humid regions. High humidity for at least 6 months of the year and an average rainfall of at least 40 inches are considered favorable for transmission of yaws. So the climate should be warm and humid regions. Climate should be warm and humid in that areas yaws can spread rapidly. Then social factors. So yaws is a mostly endemic among the tribal people whose ways of living favors its transmission, like scanty clothing, poor personal cleanliness, overcrowding, bad housing, low standards of living, and the absence of soap are the important socio-economic factors in the epidemiology of yaws. Why it is common in tribal people? Because their ways of living, like scanty clothing, poor personal cleanliness, overcrowding, bad housing, low standards of the living, and the absence of soap. As yaws is a crippling disease, lesions on palms and soles may disable a person for a long periods by making him dependent on others. So what is its mode of transmission? Yaws is transmitted non-venerally. It is very important. It is transmitted non-venerally. That is by not by sexual contact. It is non-venerally. It is transmitted by direct contact, that is contact with secretions from infectious lesions. Second, it can spread by fomites, like by indirect contacts. The organisms may remain alive on fomites or on earthen floor in hot and humid conditions long enough to cause infection. Also, it can be transmitted by vector. There are some evidence that small flies and other insects feeding on the lesion may possibly convey the infection mechanically for brief periods. So, transmission is by three ways. First is direct contact, second, fomites, and third is vector. Transplacental or congenital transmission does not occur. Transplacental or congenital transmission does not occur. Incubation period, it has an incubation period of 9 to 90 days. That is average 21 days. What are clinical features? There are two stages, early yaws and late yaws. So in early yaws, the primary lesions, also called as mother yaw, appears at the site of inoculation after an incubation period of 3 to 5 weeks. The lesion is extragenital. This is the main differentiating feature between syphilis and yaws, because syphilis lesions are mainly genital origin. So the lesion is extragenital and is seen on exposed part of body such as legs, arms, buttocks or face. The local lymph glands are enlarged and the blood becomes positive for STS, that is serological test for syphilis. Due to this, we cannot differentiate it by serological test, because in syphilis also there is a positive test and in yaws also positive test. So within the next 3 to 6 weeks, so initial lesions are seen on exposed parts. Within next 3 to 6, a generalized eruptions appears consisting of large, yellow, crusted, granulomatous eruptions, which are resembling condylomata in secondary syphilis. During the next 5 years, skin, mucous membrane, periosteal and bone lesions may develop. The early lesions are highly infectious. You can see in image the papilloma of mother yaw, means initial infection. In second image, the mother yaw nodule with central ulceration and yellow crust. In next stage, ulcerated mother yaws, and this image shows healed primary yaws lesion showing the pigmented scar. Then late yaws. By the end of 5 years, means till 5 years, we called it as a early yaws. And at the end of 5 years, destructive, often deforming lesions of the skin, bone, and periosteum appear. The lesions of soles and palms are called as crab yaws, and the destructive lesions of soft palate, hard palate, and nose are called as gangosa. The destructive lesions of soft palate, hard palate, and nose are called as gangosa. And also swelling by the side of nose due to osteoperiostitis of the superior maxillary bone. It is called as Gondu. So, in late years, there are 3 terms. The lesions of soles and palms are called as crab yaws. The destructive lesion of soft palate, hard palate, and nose are called as gangosa. And the swelling by the side of nose due to osteoperiostitis of the superior maxillary bone is called as Gondu. So in image, you can see the destructive lesions. Then diagnosis. Most often, the diagnosis is made clinically. Dark field microscopy of the samples taken from the early lesions, particularly ulcerative lesions, may show the responsible bacteria. As in syphilis also, we can see the bacteria by dark field microscopy. Also, some blood serum serological tests like VDRL and RPR are useful, but serological test cannot distinguish yaws from the syphilis. There is a no test which distinguish yaws from syphilis. Then how to control yaws? The control of yaws is based on the following principles. So first is survey. The clinical survey of the all families in endemic areas is made. The survey should cover not less than 95% of total population. During the survey, persons suffering from yaws and their contacts are listed. So, the first measure in control is survey. Clinical surveys of all families in endemic areas should be done. And the persons who are suffering from yaws and their contacts are listed. Then second measure is treatment. So treatment is based on following observation. So first is treatment with single dose of azithromycin given orally or single injection of long-acting penicillin will cure the infection. So what is treatment is given? Treatment with single dose of azithromycin given orally or single injection of long-acting penicillin. Second observation is treatment of contacts. The simultaneous treatment of all clinical cases and their likely contacts in community will interrupt transmission in the community. So, while treating clinical cases, we should treat contacts also. By that mean, we can reduce the transmission in the community. So, how to give? Benzathine penicillin G is the penicillin of choice, but now it is replaced by PAM. The dose of BPG is 1.2 million units for all cases. What is the dose of penicillin? 1.2 million units for all cases as well as for contacts, and half the dose, that is 0.6 million units for children under 10 years of age. If you are giving azithromycin, it is given as a single oral dose at 30 mg per kg body weight for cases as well as for contacts. You can see in the image secondary yours in the left armpit of 10-year-old. Same person 2 weeks and 3.5 months after a single dose of azithromycin. See the first image. Then in this image, first one after 2 weeks and last one is after 3.5 months after a single dose of azithromycin. This is image shows that before and after. Before and 2 weeks after single injection of benzathine penicillin. This is image from 1950s. So WHO has recommended 3 treatment policies. That is total mass treatment. Total mass treatment in areas where yours is hyper-endemic. That is more than 10% prevalence of clinically active yaws. Means the area which has more than 10% prevalence is called as hyperendemic, which is a great part of population at a risk. So here the entire population, including the cases, should be given penicillin in the doses mentioned above. That is 1.2 million units. So all population, cases, contacts and remainings are also treated with penicillin. Second one is juvenile mass treatment. In mesoendemic communities, that is 5 to 10% prevalence. Mesoendemic communities, treatment is given to all cases and to all children under 15 years of age and other contacts. Means in first treatment, that is total mass treatment, we give the penicillin to cases, contacts and other remaining population also. But in juvenile mass treatment, we give treatment to cases, contacts and all children which are under 15 years of age. Third method is selective mass treatment. That is in hypoendemic or areas which has low prevalence, that is less than 5%, treatment is confined to cases, their household and other obvious contacts of infectious cases. So here we only treat cases and contacts. Third point in control measure is resurvey and treatment. It is unlikely that single round of survey and treatment will cover the entire population. So, in order to interrupt transmission, it is necessary to find out and treat the missed cases and new cases. So, resurvey should be undertaken every 6 to 12 months. Several such follow-ups may be needed before eradication is achieved. So, third control measure is resurvey and treatment. Why? Because in single survey we cannot cover the entire population. So there is a need of resurvey, and this resurvey should be undertaken every 6 to 12 months. Fourth point in control measure, it is surveillance. With the decline of yaws to very low levels, emphasis has shifted to surveillance and containment. which is also technique which was used in eradication of smallpox. The surveillance and containment measures would be concentrated on affected village, households, and other contacts of known yaws cases. Meaning of surveillance and containment means if we are given treatment to any case patient or contact, then we should take proper follow-up. And also after cure, we should keep record of 3 to 6 months also. That is, recurrence of symptoms is not appearing, we should see. So what measures are it comprise? Epidemiological investigation of cases to identify probable source of infection and contacts of each known case so as to discover previously unknown cases and to prevent new cases. Also, treatment of cases, prophylactic treatment of contacts with BPG, and monthly follow-up of household with confirmed cases for at least 3 to 4 months after treatment of last active case to assure interruption of transmission. So what is the aim of surveillance and containment? It is to assure interruption of transmission. That is, after treatment also, the cases are not reappearing after 3 to 4 months. So next control measure is environmental improvement. So in a disease like yours, an attack on social and economic condition of life is an important as an attack on biological cause. So what environmental improvement should be done? That is improvement of personal and domestic hygiene, adequate water supply, liberal use of soap, better housing condition, and improvement of quality of life. Next control measure is renewed eradication effort. The WHO roadmap for neglected tropical diseases, that is NTDs, have set 2020 target for the eradication of yaws from remaining countries. In India, it is already eradicated and which was declared in 2011. Since January 2012, when the WHO roadmap for NTDs were set, and an article in the Lancet on the efficacy of single dose of azithromycin in the treatment of yaws was published. And WHO has taken steps to move on the renewed eradication efforts by developing a new eradication strategy, which was based on single dose treatment with azithromycin. So this target is for other countries. So what is strategy? It is total community treatment and total targeted treatment. Total community treatment, it is treatment of endemic community irrespective of number of active clinical cases. Means whole population should be treated with penicillin or azithromycin. And total targeted treatment, that is treatment of all active clinical cases and their contacts. Then next control measure is evaluation. So to determine whether or not yaws has really been brought under control, serological studies are needed. So ideally, if no yaws antibody were found among children born since the yaws mass campaign was completed, it would mean that the campaign had been totally successful. So after applying all control measures, there should be evaluation of that control measures, whether it is successful or not successful. So in short, we again revise what is yaws. It is chronic, contagious, non-venereal disease caused due to Treponema pertanium. It is resembling to syphilis because the family of the bacteria is same. That is Treponema pallidum for syphilis and Treponema perteniu for yaws. In India, we already successful in eradicating yaws, and which was declared in 19 September 2011. Epidemiological determinants, agent factor is Treponema perteniu. Reservoir is man. In host factor, it is the mainly disease of childhood and adolescence. All the 75% cases are before the age of 15 years. Males are more at risk. Immunity, there is a no natural immunity. Acquired resistance can develop, but it takes years to develop. Environmental factors include the climate, which is warm and humid, which favors the growth of bacteria. Social factors, mainly the ways of living of tribal people, like scanty clothing, poor personal cleanliness, overcrowding, bad housing, low standards of living, and absence of use of soap. Mode of transmission by direct contact, by fomites, by vector. Remember, it is not transmitted by transplacental or congenitally. Incubation period is 9 to 90 days. Clinical features, there are two stages, early years and late years. The main lesions are extragenital, mainly seen on exposed part of the body. Images. Late years, it after the 5 years. Mainly destructive lesions are formed. The lesions of soles and palms is called as crab years. On the soft palate, hard palate and nose, it is called as gangosa. And swelling by the side of nose due to osteoperiosteitis, it is called as gondu. You can see in image. Diagnostic tests are mainly dark field microscopy, blood serum tests like VDRL and RPR. Control of yaws includes survey. Treatment, mainly treatment include single dose of azithromycin and single injection of long-acting penicillin. Then resurvey and treatment, surveillance, environmental improvement, renewed eradication effort by WHO, and last one is evaluation. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
समझना?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh, ma'am.